Hello everybody, my name is Ed and welcome back to another episode of the Game Hog HogCast. It has been a couple of weeks since our last episode with that Jenny B, but my, what a HogCast that was. Now, it's time to welcome another Y chromosome back to the podcast. No more women for this week, it's going to be two men having it out, I suppose. But please welcome to the podcast, for the first time appearing on a Game Hog video of any kind, or audio, please welcome Mr. BirdKeeperToby.
Hey!
Say hello, BirdKeeperToby.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Was that the intro you were expecting?
You know what? No, but it is the intro that I deserved. I honestly, I was listening to the one that you did with Isla recently, and how excited that you got just to have a woman on the podcast.
Oh, it's wonderful, because I've never really been able to have female creators in the sphere of Game Hog before, because I didn't really know any, but now I know so many wonderful, talented women that I can get involved.
You're growing up. You're evolving in life. It's wonderful.
Indeed. So interestingly, I actually found you, BirdKeeperToby, a number of years ago on YouTube, probably around the time you, maybe a few K into you starting, but I had only really discovered maybe a small handful of creators. I think it was maybe Tomscar, Markiplier, Tamashi Hiroka, and you. What? You were some of the first creators I was ever aware of as people who did regular videos. No. And one of the things that made me go, this guy's quite cool, was your shirt. The Suicune shirt that I've seen in real life now.
Yeah. Oh man, you know, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was how, like...
No, indeed. So in a weird way, this is kind of like a privilege for me.
You fanboy.
Because I'm kind of getting one of my early... Yeah, I'm fanboy.
Well, I'd say that you didn't actually
nice.
say you enjoyed it, just that you'd seen it.
Oh, no, I loved it. That was why I enjoyed it, because your content's very well made. In fact, for people who maybe don't know what your content is, BirdKeeperToby, why don't you explain to the listeners of the HogCast?
Yeah, well, I'm BirdKeeperToby, and I do Pokemon videos. It used to be primarily Pokemon theories. Now I tend to, which is just sort of like video game lore, drawing the dots that aren't really there to make new stories and basically fan fiction about Pokemon. I used to do that quite a lot. Now I do more sciencey Pokemon videos, but I also do some sort of fan-made creations. I got the series going on about what if I was a gym leader of each different type, what themes, that kind of thing. Have a lot of fun with Pokemon. That's it. I think, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, hey, when I grow up, I want to be a Pokemon master. And lo and behold, I've managed to make it happen whilst wearing very stylish Pokemon shirts. So I'm glad it's being appreciated anyway.
That's great. What a passion-filled response to what you do for content. So that's one of the reasons I got BirdKeeperToby on. We've met through a couple of MCMs, and we've managed to bond over a couple of things, mainly just each other.
And I'm always astounded about how unbelievably open and friendly you are, Ed. And
that's very kind. I've always thought the same about you.
Ooh, thank you. Oh, let's just pat each other on the back right now.
I know, let's just do this for an hour. It'll be great.
Shall we? We'll have a great time.
So, speaking of the hour or so that we have ahead, we obviously have some features that we do here on the HogCast. We top and tail every single one of our podcasts with a questionnaire. We start with the Pivot questionnaire, a very insightful quiz that some of you may know from Inside the Actors Studio, a very popular show in America. So, BirdKeeperToby, are you ready to go through some of the Game Hog questionnaires?
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm ready.
So let's start with the first question. What is your favourite word?
Oh, okay. So I'm immediately going to ruin how you've been doing these, because I have listened to this and I've been thinking, okay, I'm coming on HogCast. I got to have an answer for this ready. And I just realized I do not have the same relationship to words that I think other people do.
Right.
I have a favourite word. I'm not like 5, but like...
Well, that's a great way of starting this podcast.
The best answer, the best I can give you is that I think my favourite word used to have been chaos, because it was in all of my passwords and I just really loved Sonic Adventure DX.
Dude, so did I, and I really liked the word chaos as well. In fact, when I first got into trading card games, I was playing a game called Duel Masters, and I just called my deck the Chaos deck.
Oh.
It didn't have anything in it that was like that. I was just like, this is cool, man.
Oh, you edgelord. I mean, but I get it.
Exactly.
I
was
did
so
exactly
edgy.
The same thing. I logged onto an old account on a game of mine recently to kind of see what my personal profile was like on it. It was a Pokemon Battle Revolution. And you had these custom taglines you could make for when you send out Pokemon, and my guy, he's like wearing all flames, and he's like, the end is near. I am the ultimate life form. I will bring chaos to you. And I'm just there like, oh, what was wrong
Jesus.
with me?
So eye-rolling, but it was so cool at the time.
Oh, yeah.
It's just so bad. There's something really sad about when you're a kid, the things you think are cool.
Oh, yeah.
And then, so, like, the Naruto run is such a good example. You know, it looks so cool in anime, but when you do it, you look ridiculous.
So I had never done that, but because I hadn't seen Naruto, but I did the same thing, and it was the Sonic the Hedgehog run. It's the exact same thing.
Oh, it's the exact same thing.
Behind. And what I found amazing was I had a conversation with my friend Jordan a couple months ago where he said, yeah, and you always had that funny Sonic the Hedgehog run you used to do. And I just went, you knew about that? And he went, knew about it? That's all we ever talked about.
Oh, that's so bleak. Oh, that's so bad hearing it back now. You knew in your head it wasn't good, but you're hearing from friends going, yeah, that was really weird. You remember? Damn it.
No, I'm sure I remember as a kid watching a Walking with Dinosaurs type thing, and there was a velociraptor, and the way it ran, and it had like its bent elbows, and I'm sure I went to school well above the age where it would be appropriate for me to do this, running around as if I was a velociraptor and coming home and having my brother go, Toby, you gotta not do that. You gotta not do that at school.
Oh, that's really bad. But I mean, I kind of understand in a way. So I guess you don't really have many other... You don't have a word that where every time you hear it, it makes you feel happy?
No.
You don't have an animal name that maybe makes you go, oh, cool. Like puffin. What about the word puffin?
I mean, that's a good word, but
It's a good word.
It's still just a word. I had to Google good sounding words.
Oh my God.
I'm just looking at them and I'm just like, okay, I'm weird. I got nothing here. I do have stuff for your next question. Don't worry. It's not going to be the same answer twice over.
Okay, well, that's fair enough. I guess I'll throw one out there then. My favorite word for this week is interminable. Ooh. And interminable is what you say when something seems to go on forever. So like the ending of the third Lord of the Rings is interminable. Oh,
man, yeah. Okay.
It just goes on forever. You're like, oh, there's the ending. Oh, wait, what's going on?
There's more?
Another ending.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So interminable is going to be mine this week. I just think it's really good. When you describe, did you ever have like a speech day at school? It was like the last day of term and like the headmaster would do a really, really long talk. Did you have anything like that?
I think we probably did, yeah. Yeah.
Like that basically to me, when I think of the word interminable, I'm flashed back to that, like Vietnam.
You know what? My thing for that is actually queues. I'm a really bad, I can't handle queues. Whether that's for like a rides or shopping centers or anything like that. And queues definitely take twice as long mentally than they actually do in real time.
It's so weird how that works. Apparently, scientifically, it takes you average about 2 minutes to get impatient. Yeah. So a queue is perfect for that. Especially if you're in a hurry. Queuing for a ticket machine at like Waterloo, when you've got 10 minutes for your train, is the most stressful experience on earth for me.
Any queue
and it makes me near
murder. If I can sit in a queue, I can be okay with that, but then you just feel like an idiot being the only person sitting because everyone else is an adult.
That's so true.
Kind of stands up. I'm just there sitting like, trying to get my phone out or have some other form of distracting media to remind me that I am not in this hell of a situation.
Well, speaking of hell or hell of a situation, I mean, I try and link these together as best I can.
Yeah, that was a good segue.
Toby.
I like that.
It wasn't great. We'll see where they go for the rest of the podcast. But let's go on to question 2, which is, what is your least favorite word?
I had such a fun time Googling earlier this exact thing because I was looking up horrible sounding words, and again, like I've heard the word moist be brought up a lot. I don't have a problem with it's just a word to me.
It's just a word, but it is very popular.
The wonderful thing is I was looking down this thing and it was a bunch of really horrible sounding words and their meaning, and then they were on really serene images. So you've got like Yosemite in the background and the word moist, just things like that. And at the bottom it's got moist meaning damp or like whatever, and at the bottom it just says Brexit, noun, Brexit. And I was so happy with that. But I actually did find one that I think gets me, which is congeal. Nothing should be congealing. No, there's no part of the universe where congeal
should ever naturally congeal. No, I agree. You've really hit a good one. You made me squirm when you said that.
I mean, that's something that should happen in like, you know, it's the kind of thing that happens in the bedroom of someone you know, where they haven't thrown out a dish or something, but it would never happen in your room because stuff shouldn't congeal. That's not okay.
It's like when I hear the word congeal, I kind of envision like, do you ever have squeezy mayonnaise?
I know
that's a really specific thing to ask. But like you know something where it requires squeezing, and the stuff that you squeeze out gathers around the top, but obviously you put the lid back on,
and you know,
and it congeals, and it's rank, and it's the worst thing in the world. So that kind of associates it with me. But I kind of have the same thing with my least favorite word this week, which is smear.
Oh.
I don't like the word smear because to me, it's only ever feces. Nothing else is ever smeared except for poo.
You don't smear bread on butter, right?
No, exactly. Like it's just poo smeared on a wall. That's the only time you ever hear of it.
Yeah. No, I get that. That was one of the words. I think the background for that one was like Yellowstone, you know?
Smear.
Something else serene.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Oh dear. Okay.
Well, that's nice and good. We managed to brush off some least favorite words very quickly there, and that's great.
Okay.
So we'll move on to our third favorite thing, because speaking of your nice serene pictures, because this is actually a natural segue, what turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally, BirdKeeperToby?
Okay. So there's so moments where you have ideas that suddenly make sense, and that they just suddenly open up this big old mental door for you. So like when I came into making my channel, my best friend, he makes, or at the time he was streaming Hearthstone, and I said to him the sentence, I was already doing YouTube, and I said, man, it'd be so cool if I could just make videos about my favorite video game series. And before I finished, you know, the word's still hanging in the air, and suddenly it's like this big old mental door opens up, and all of these possibilities, suddenly this big room becomes available to you, and oh my goodness, I could do this. I could chase the idea here. And that process of idea following
incepting.
and incepting, and that moment when two ideas that you never thought about how they could come together before, and they suddenly breed a third new idea, and that stuff is so exciting to me. It's when I did drama, it was my favorite thing, is when you're in the rehearsal studio, when you're in the rehearsal process, and you're running a line, you're running a scene, and it's just not quite working. It's not working. And then suddenly someone says, try it like this, right? The director says, try it this way. And
suddenly it clicks.
And everything, that moment when you hit something, it's so real, and it's like, it's this exhilaration and this thrill, and suddenly that is a high that you just cannot, it takes me so long to get off of, because it's just, that's my day now, is great.
This might be one of my favorite answers. I think that honestly might be one of my favorite answers we've had for that question, because it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. When something finally clicks in your head and it opens up that epiphany, it's almost a head rush of like, oh my God, I can do all this stuff now.
The
like,
flow state,
wow.
It's magic. That's where the art comes from, right? Whether it's acting or music or dance or whatever the thing is that you do, or, you know, it's that moment when everyone in the room kind of looks around at each other, and you get that wink of, we know we're onto something good here. It's goosebumps, you know, and that is the moment when that happens. Not to get all pretentious like 5 seconds into the podcast, but like that is the thing. I mean, it's a pretentious question, I guess. That's the thing.
It kind of is, let's be honest.
Really gets the juices flowing, and I'm like, okay, now I can do something with this. Now I can output. It's just exciting.
See, you may think that's a pretentious answer to a very pretentious question, but I think that's bang on. I mean, a lot of the things, I've kind of had to repeat this question a lot, so I guess I've answered this in a lot of ways. But actually, I might get a bit cringy here, but for me recently, my creative, spiritual, emotional thing that's kind of kept me moving or inspired has actually been that Jenny B. She's been very much a pushing force for me lately, and she inspires me to do a lot of new things, and she invigorates me to do a lot of stuff. So I'm going to be a bit cliche and cringe this week and say that Jenny B, because she's actually been like, she's really, really encouraging to everyone, not just to me. But that's what makes her great. What am I like, eh? I'm going to be that guy. But I like passion, I like enthusiasm, and I just like seeing people who are talented at stuff, and I like having a kind of therapy group of people who do the same thing, which is why I like being friends with you and Liam and Luke and James and Spammels and all these creators, because we kind of come together naturally and our brains kind of amalgamate.
That Jenny B is a very creative and I think enthusiastic kind of human, and these people are good for all of us to be around, because I think for a lot of people in the world, they kind of go through life and don't get it, and they're in their, you know, they're living life in their lanes, and not that that's wrong or anything, but, you know, it's nice to have the reaffirmation that no, there is a certain magic in art here that we should all be chasing in our various fields, and it's not dumb. These careers, they're not dumb to pursue the editing or the acting or the YouTube or the music. It's not stupid. Look, we're all in it together, and actually we're in on something here that everyone else doesn't know, and it's good to be surrounded by those people. I
completely agree, and I think this has been one of my favourite segments of any of the HogCasts.
Do I win? Discussion. Do I win the HogCast?
You win the HogCast, BirdKeeperToby. Yes. Magnificent. However, we are going to have to bring things down to a more somber note for our next question.
Yes. Okay.
So, with regards to the creative, spiritual, or emotional side of things, what turns you off?
I actually don't have an answer kind of like pre-prepared for this.
Fair enough. For me, it's needless bureaucaucry.
Needless bureaucracy.
It's that's kind of obscure and it's a bit specific. But so let's say, for instance, in the world of video editing, give me a bit of footage, I will make that into a better bit of footage, and I love doing that. That's great. When you then tell me to make a list of all the footage, a list of the clips that were used, a list of the sound, then you lose me. I don't want to do all that. I really don't. I just want to make the stuff. And it's like how Game Grumps, for instance, Aaron hired somebody to do all of the business side and to edit, because what he likes doing is sitting down and outputting creativity. And that's great. Obviously, he does a lot of the business side, but he just wants to do that. And I imagine it comes from a similar place. I just don't like needless bureaucracy.
I get ya.
It puts me a lot of jobs. It puts me off some hobbies or, you know, monetization of hobbies, but that would be mine. Do you have anything similar?
You know, no, but I mean, I get that. Like on my end, so obviously I'm not an editor. Actually, editing is one of the jobs I try to outsource when possible, because there are so many editors out there who are more talented in that area of the business than I am, and to me, it's not actually my favorite part of the process. However, I'm aware that when I send off footage and I get it back, I'm not then gonna be like, okay, can I get a list of like every song that you used and where you get every clip? Because that's not really part of the job that anyone wants to be doing, or that they like, or is potentially, like you say, it's unnecessary.
It's just ticking boxes, and it's usually done in corporations. Corporations usually want it to tick some kind of box.
Yeah, I mean, one of the beautiful things I love about being a freelancer and doing what I'm doing on YouTube is, you know, having complete control over the processes. I can try and make it as fun for people as possible.
Absolutely.
I guess one of the things that does kind of turn me off creatively, or just on a spiritual kind of level and on an emotional level, is people who get in their own way and have identified problems with their life and know that it will be hard to overcome those problems, so don't do it. And just rather wallow in it and live in it, whether that's a friendship that's fallen apart or whether that is like their own mental health. And I get, for a lot of stuff, like a lot of people, myself included, that's an incredibly hard thing to do. Not everyone can just, you know, get up and go, okay, I'm going to try and solve my problems today, and today is going to be the beginning of the rest of my life. Not everyone can do that, and I almost feel a little bit bad, because I have this very proactive attitude about myself, and I know not everyone has that, and I don't relate to their experiences very well.
Sure.
But it does upset me when I see so many wonderful people not reaching their fullest potential and then sort of complaining about it, and me going, you know, or people going, hey, you know, if you just got the help you needed in this area, it's okay. Everyone needs help. No exceptions here.
Of course.
You know, if you just look in this area here, the nuts and bolts that need tightening up, and they go, yeah, you know, that sounds yeah, maybe one day, yeah, you know. It's like, no, what are you doing?
You've got to try. It's all about the trying.
You only get one go at life. Why are you not trying to fix this? Like, I want to scream.
I do agree.
I want to grab people, but I get that for everyone it's not that easy, and I feel really bad because it's taken me years of living life with the attitude I have to be at a point where it's almost second nature to me. To when a problem comes up, I want to deal with it like ASAP. You know, I think for a lot of people, the coping mechanism has been to avoid the problems. And so I get that not everyone is at the same place I am, but man, it hurts because I'm like, you could be so good.
Part of the problem is people need to admit when they have a problem. Yeah. Obviously, like if they're aware of it and they're not fixing it, that's one whole other problem in itself. Yeah. And that's always very frustrating. But like, I've always found that it's, one of the hugest steps is very much admitting it. I've had a lot of things in my life recently where I've had to like be honest with myself about how I treat my body or what I do to myself. It's mostly related to my eating, and people obviously are aware that I'm very, very thin. And I've had to be a bit more honest with myself and say that it does come from a place of a minor eating disorder.
Yeah.
And I have had to try and come to terms with that. And that was only something that, again, through Jenny B's help and stuff, that I've had to like say out loud and kind of acknowledge that it exists. And it does help to then go, right, here's the problem. That's the solution. That's not an overnight fix. What can I do every day that's a tiny little step towards that? Doesn't have to be a huge step.
Yeah.
Could be an iota, but it's a step.
First of all, I'm really sorry to hear you going through that, and that's an incredibly brave thing for you to have to kind of come to terms with and deal with. I'm on the other side of the eating disorder spectrum, I guess, with I don't think I have one, but I definitely have an unhealthy relationship with food. And I had a moment about, well, I can tell you exactly 43 days ago, because I've been counting the days since, where I just went, this is ridiculous. You're not fitting into the shirts you want to fit into anymore. You know, you're not happy with yourself. And it's just like, okay, this isn't going to be an overnight fix, but where could I be in 50 days if I just walk the amount of steps that I want to walk, drink water, not, you know, Coke or whatever, and eat right? Where can I be? And, you know, stick to this kind of general calorie limit or whatever. And when thinking about it, not so much in terms of, oh, am I eating exactly enough or walking exactly enough or drinking exactly enough or whatever, but thinking about it in terms of, okay, I have X amount of days, and I will count each day as a victory, and I would like to get to this day. That is personally a path that I found to kind of getting through it. And like I said, I'm now on day 42, I think, out of the 50-day goal. So it's like, it's getting there, it's getting there, it's getting there. And if you had told me 42 days ago, like, you're going to do 40 days and you're going to be really healthy, I would have been like, nah,
no way.
I'll give up after day 2 or 3.
I must admit, I thought you looked very healthy at MCM. I thought you were looking in very good shape. So obviously it's been working.
Thank you. I'm trying. You're looking very healthy too. Oh, let's just do this for the podcast.
Let's do this again. Look, we're back in 20 minutes later. Let's come back every 20 minutes and just have a nice pat on the back.
How good we look.
That's great. We'll have every 20 minutes a little kind of like positivity
Which break. We do. We're stunning. Anyway.
Absolutely. So let's move on to something a little closer to the bone, BirdKeeperToby.
Okay.
What is your favourite curse word? Now, I'm aware that you are going more towards a child-friendly kind of content, which is actually why there's no swears in this podcast.
Yes.
If any have slipped through the net, I apologise. I do intend to catch them. Yeah, but I'm in broadcast mode today. I'm being radio friendly and I'm trying not to swear.
It's your channel, and I appreciate you accommodating to me anyway.
It's fine. It's a test for me.
It's a challenge. I mean, obviously, I couldn't possibly. I don't have a curse word. Are you mad?
What are you implying?
I suppose. Bum.
You said a naughty.
You know. I'm afraid I couldn't possibly tell you, but because it's for me, I have a lot of parents who watch my videos with kids and with their kids, and that's in itself is incredibly flattering. But it's interesting because if you know me in real life, and you know that before the podcast, the way that I talk off of screen and on screen, there is a difference there. And for a lot of creators, the way that people engage with the creator is through their I guess a certain amount of like how genuine they're being. And so there have been points in my career where I thought, should I start swearing more because it's maybe a little bit more genuine to my IRL, self kind of thing. But I think at the end of the day, I think about it when I'm BirdKeeperToby, when I'm doing BirdKeeperToby videos and content and related stuff. I'm playing a version of myself that is just, you know, almost the kind of thing that I would have liked to have seen when I was growing up and watching Pokemon and playing the games.
And that's great, and that's a good reason to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so it's good. I mean, do you have a kid-friendly curse word you'd like to share today, Ed? Woo-hoo.
Well, I mean, if we are going kid-friendly, I'm a big fan of the word butthole.
Yeah, that's great.
I like butthole. It's just a funny word for me, you know? Like, it's the B in it. I like B words like that, and butthole is just funny.
The butt? Yeah, I get you.
Put it in the butt. Yeah, it's great.
Or like Finding Nemo. They touch the butt.
He touched the butt. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And also in an American accent, it works even better. Like, butt doesn't sound as nice in British or English accents, but in an American one, butt. There's something really funny about it. Like a butthole. Yeah, exactly. Butthole just sounds way funnier to me. So my child-friendly curse word for this week is butthole.
Nice little change on it.
What are all of your child-friendly curse words? You post those in that comment section below if you guys are watching over on the YouTube. And if you guys are listening on iTunes or SoundCloud or any podcast app, make sure you guys leave us a little 5-star review and then migrate over to the YouTube version and leave us a comment. Actually, BirdKeeperToby, this is a good opportunity for me to plug your socials, or rather, for you to plug your socials. Where can people find you on Twitter, YouTube, or Twitch?
Yeah, I mean, it's Twitter and YouTube and Twitch. BirdKeeperToby is always the handle, no matter where you're at. On Instagram is the other one that I like to use. But Twitch, I'm taking a little bit of a break from for the next 2 months as I'm going to be traveling around. So don't expect to see me there a lot. But Twitter, YouTube, I upload 2 videos a week, 3 if there's a bonus video. But yeah, Twitter and YouTube are the main 2 at the moment, and it's all just BirdKeeperToby. It's super easy to find me.
Can I ask, is there a BirdKeeperToby?
In the Pokemon games?
Yes.
Yes, that's why that is why I'm called BirdKeeperToby. The origin story.
Because I believe there isn't an ace trainer Liam, am I correct?
Yeah, no, I have a backstory.
Yeah, that's actually cool. Yours is actually in-game.
Liam's just pompous. That's his backstory. Mine is that, like, there is a BirdKeeperToby in-game. My brother's name is Theo, and down the road in Olivine City from where BirdKeeperToby is, there is a BirdKeeper Theo, and that's in Gold and Silver, and so that always stuck with me. I was like, oh my goodness, we're both in the game, but they're both BirdKeeper, so it must be related. And so that always stuck with me, and when I was coming up with the channel name, I just thought back to that and was like, you know what, sure, why not? Now,
we're actually going to come back to Gold and Silver later. This is something that we're going to discuss in one of our features later on, so remember this, because I get very excited talking about Pokemon Gold and Silver, but we'll come back. We're halfway through this little questionnaire, and we'll power through the rest and get back to Pokemon.
Okay.
So, BirdKeeperToby, what sound or noise do you love? Is it the call of a bird?
Oh, I have an answer to this, but I can't demonstrate for you because I forgot to bring one upstairs. It is the sound. It is the sound of when you throw an apple in the air and catch it back in your palm. There is a noise that happens, and it's just like the most satisfying thing.
The sound of an apple clapping into your hand.
Yes,
kind of thing.
That's a great word, clapping. It's like an apple just kind of landing just back, and it's just this noise. It's good. It's a good noise.
I like that answer. That's a really, really good answer.
Thanks. Do you have a sound that you know?
Oh, that's really tough. Oh no, you've put me on the spot. I didn't come up with one this week.
That's okay.
Think of one.
I mean,
the opening of a nice, cool can of Diet Coke.
Yeah.
There we go.
Okay, yeah.
That's this week sorted.
Even the first good crunch out of an apple, apples just have a way of generating good noises. People don't.
They do. They're like the wonder fruit for Foley.
Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of Foley, on the flip side of this, what sound or noise do you hate? Yeah, that bloody segue. That was great.
That was awesome. So you were also talking about a sound that kind of gave a feeling. I remember in the one with Isla, and I've got one, and it's gonna make you cringe. Once while I was shaving, I was kind of shaving my mustache, and I brought the razor down, and it chipped my tooth.
Oh! Oh! Jesus! Oh, it's teeth and eyes. I can't do.
Whatever that noise / feeling was, I want nothing to do with it ever again.
Oh, I'm squirming and writhing in my chair, Toby. What have you done?
No, you don't. No one wants that in their life. They should not. Those are things that should not connect. They should not touch enamel and we're good.
Actually, do you know, that brings me on to one. How often do you bathe in a bath?
Not often. I have a shower box, sadly. So whenever
I see. So I'm a regular
house.
bather. I bathe on a nightly basis. So for me, it's a regular occurrence. But obviously, baths are made of that plasticky enamel kind of thing. Your nail accidentally catching and scratching that. It's literally chalkboard, but like it just resonates through your entire body. Oh, God, I can feel it.
Can we just stop? I'm like shaking.
This is like the opposite of ASMR. This is having someone describe a sound to you and then you get uncomfortable. I love this.
This is literally going to make so many listeners miserable. We're just ruining
Welcome
days.
to the halfway point. I hope you've left. Well, BirdKeeper Toby, we've covered sounds. Let's move ourselves away from sounds because I can feel my bones starting to kind of crunch a little bit at the thought of a lot of these. So we'll move on to something a little bit more thought-invigorating. Okay. BirdKeeper Toby, what profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Now, are you a full-time content creator or is content creation a part-time thing?
No, I'm YouTubing full-time. Whether it pays out or not, I have no idea. I look in the account sometime and I'm like, I should. But yeah, at the moment it's full-time YouTube and whatever other little freelance things pop up. But honestly, it's always been, and I hope I get back to acting at some point. That was something that I studied in college. I went to university to do. Then I, partway through my university degree, moved on to do film production, and YouTube became a sort of byproduct of all of this. Ended up pursuing the YouTube path. I hope that acting is something that, because I know I love it. I know I absolutely adore it. Reading scripts, I'm great at memorizing scripts. And I had a sort of a little bit of a calling back to it recently this year when I took a friend and I just said, you know what, we're just going to go to a room for a day and we're just going to run lines of scripts that we have no intention of doing anything with these. And it was such a fun day. And it's that process of being in the studio, being in the rehearsal room, and
letting things naturally flow, and then letting things click, and then feeling yourself developing.
It's cathartic and it's right, and I want it in my life. But I think I'm actually, there's a weird bit of fear that I've been aware of for the last sort of 4 or 5 years in relation to acting, which is just this inner monologue going, "You are not very good. You won't be very good." And I don't know what that is, and that is something I will have to confront because YouTube won't be forever, and I do want to do this, and I will do this. It's not even a case of, I hope I get back to it. I will act in the future. I will be in stuff. But this is something I'm going to have to definitely confront to deal with that. That said, if it could be anything, outside of my talent zone or whatever, then I would love to be able to sing and play instruments. I envy the musically talented, and the idea of standing on stage, and whether it was a cappella or playing an instrument and just bringing joy through music, it would be the coolest thing in the world.
See, I'm a big fan of musical performance, and actually that's something I've been quite fortunate in being able to do recently, because I play bass for my friend Freddie's musical duo called Sand Scout. When it's just two of them that make the music, but when they perform live, it's me on bass and it's our friend Henry, who's an incredible drummer. And then we basically just go and have fun. Like, we know the songs because they send it to us as they're writing them, kind of thing. So we already know them. And so going into a rehearsal with that, it's just getting to jam together in that kind of drama space. It's that same kind of thing. And I understand the desire for that because it's exhilarating. It's so much fun. Even if it's something not that important, like if it was a tiny pub gig, it's still great to go on stage. And acting's such a wonderful thing to do, even if you don't feel like you're good at it. Because the other week, we obviously recorded Break-In, which is the new sketch coming to Gamerhog very soon, starring Jenny B. You might have seen the trailer, as Toby has. But it was a lot of fun. And obviously, I haven't done acting since A-level. I mean, I've kind of been in mini sketches for Gamerhog, but I've not done acting. So it was kind of weird for me to jump back in, and I don't consider myself a very good actor, but it was great fun to do, and now I want to do loads more comedy sketches. And BirdKeeperToby, I'll formally invite you now on the HogCast because I didn't realise you were such a burgeoning actor. I would love to have you as one of the main roles in an upcoming Game Hog sketch.
I would love that. You know, I got invited, I sort of did an audition and got invited to work with my wonderful friend Matt Lay, who I think you know.
Oh, Matt Lay, yes, I do know Matt. He's wonderful.
In a comedy sketch of his last year. And it is very much that feeling of like, I just kind of want to dip my toe back in the water, and doing stuff with friends is so much less scary than doing stuff out there in the real world.
No, I agree.
You know, and I would absolutely, seriously, if you've got a part, if you've got something you want me to do, I would love that, Ed. Thank you so much.
Well, there we go, guys. Look forward to BirdKeeperToby starring in a Game Hog sketch coming at some point. Because God knows when the one with Jenny B's coming out at this rate.
Sure.
So, BirdKeeperToby, what profession other than your own would you not like to attempt? I don't know why it says other than your own. What profession would you not like to attempt? Under no circumstances. Some people have said things like quite base, like bin men. Some people have said anything to do with kids, like a teacher, because they don't like kids. Anything
that is high responsibility involving somebody else's well-being is not.
It's just not for you.
It's not me. You know, I'm not. I especially any job where you. I'm really genuinely terrible. In an apocalypse scenario where there has to be some hierarchy and work structure, I'm going to be awful if I'm not the boss. Because I just have this weird thing with authority. I don't want to work for other people.
No, I'm the same.
This is my life. I don't want to work for other people. And any situation, I remember working in a shoe shop, and I was like, you know, you got the manager coming in, and she's talking about how, you know, we're gonna make this the best shoe shop in the world. By the way, that shoe shop is now gone. It's been liquidated.
So it's no longer the best shoe shop in the world.
You know, she's talking about how great the shoe shop's gonna be like. I'm like, no one cares. We're here for the money. No one cares. And I think I don't know what the ultimate form of that would be, where it's just like, I just don't want to serve you. But no,
I resonate with what you're saying super hard.
I want autonomy. It sounds really selfish and childish. I want complete.
It's not. No. It's so not at all.
Idealistic.
It's not at all, because the thing is, people above you will, because you're quite outgoing and you've got a creative mind. People being above you are restrictive in that way, and you feel leashed, and that's a problem. And when you don't respect the people above you, then it's really bad. Yeah. That's when it gets really, really bad. So as an editor, for me, if I don't respect the person I'm working for, luckily my boss, Mandy, is amazing. Sure. And I respect her on a number of levels, and I'm so happy to work for her because she's amazing. I've never said that about, well, actually I have said that about some other bosses before, but not at my most recent place of work. And that was an example of having zero respect for the establishment, zero respect for the bosses, and therefore zero respect for the work I was doing and put in zero effort. And that doesn't look good on me nor them. And I had to complain, and I had to quit I quit quite explosively as well, which was unprofessional of me. Sure. But it was so soul crushing, and it destroyed my mental health. And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. I can't work for you. I can't do this. I won't work for this. Yeah. Screw you. I'm going and working for myself, and I have never been happier.
So that's fantastic. I'm on the other side of you, because I make videos but I don't edit them. You edit videos for other people, so we're kind of on very much the opposite sides of this coin. Sure. And when I'm aware that the people that work for me don't work for me. You know, they're not my employees. They are freelancers. They are individuals
who you're just referring to. Yeah,
and it's important to me because I don't want to be that kind of boss where I'm demanding deadlines and stuff. Where I go, hey, here's all the stuff. Is there anything I can do to help you? And when I'm checking in, to not be so blatantly obvious as, hey, don't forget the deadlines. You know, they know. That's why I gave them the job in the first place.
Yeah, of course.
You know, I will say to them, look, is there anything more I can do to help out? If not, just how are things looking on your end, just so I know. And the great thing about us all being freelancers, you know, stuff can get rearranged. If my BirdKeeperToby video isn't out on time, the world doesn't end. I just release a different video, or I make something else, or I do have the ability to edit myself. You know, it's not going to be the point is it's not their fault if I don't get a video out. At the end of the day, it's my
so
channel.
you
it's my
don't
fault,
feel this kind of raging attachment to it.
Absolutely.
In that way.
And so it's important to me to just kind of, and even when I'm working with people on set, you know, sometimes I hire people for camera and that kind of stuff, to just be aware that everyone's there to have a good time. No one, in many cases, the people that work under me are far more professional than I am. And they're very kindly they're the ones going, hey, you know what, Toby, we're running a bit behind. Are we going to get this done? And I'm the one there going, yeah, you know, let's just take 5 minutes to chill and get the energy good, right? You know?
Well, I think we've had some very, very good discussions here with these. I'm liking where this podcast is going so far.
I love fun.
So I think it's time for us to move on to the final question of this Pivot questionnaire.
Okay.
And then we can move on to some of the wonderful features that we can play together, Toby. The final, very deep question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Go on, man, you do it better. And
wow.
Then he can mount me and crown me and put me up on his throne, and I'll be like, cool. Let me show you how it's done.
Are you aware you're recounting the plot of the film Bruce Almighty?
Yeah, basically. So that's what I want. Is I want to be Bruce Almighty. I don't know. Like, because
what if he called you out on a Pokemon theory?
Oh,
Lavender
no.
Town Syndrome didn't exist.
That would be so embarrassing. I'd be like, please, Almighty, of all the things, why this? I don't know, some kind of, because, you know, if you find out that heaven's there and that this God is there, you're suddenly opened up to so many more questions that, you know, but what you realize is, oh man, gods exist. Cool, can I be one? Like, that's like the immediate jump that I go to. Can I be one? That's like the first thing. And obviously, you know I'm not going to get some kind of affirmation of you did life right. The idea that there's one right way to live life is ridiculous. So I'm not worried about any of that stuff, you know, like, and if they're cool enough, if this God is cool enough to just be like, to, I don't know, not be like, you are a terrible human, blast, you know, you're gone now for eternity. Like, if, you know, we're cool to hang and chill, like, then some kind of, like, hey, you think you can do it better? Go on, show me. I'd probably do a terrible job of it, but it'd be nice to
give it a good try.
Give it a good go, you know?
That might be one of my favourite answers for this. You've been very good at this questionnaire. You've listened to the podcast, haven't you?
It's almost like I've been spending all day listening. No, I haven't. I did listen to the one with Ida earlier, and I've heard the Aisha and Liam one. Gonna go off and listen to the Jenny B one as well later.
Of course, and also for those of you who still want to hear other people, you should also listen to Chris Bingham, the brother of Jenny B, and the Luke and James ones.
Have they also
we have
done ones?
7
Lovely.
on the channel. In fact, if you're listening to this one, there will be 8 because BirdKeeperToby is number 8.
I'm going to have to go back and listen to all of them.
You certainly are. Now, something that has occurred in every single one of these HogCasts is one of my favourite features that I've ever made, and that is Haiku Do You Think You Are?
Nice.
Haiku Do You Think You Are is a little feature where I put out to you guys a subject matter for you to submit to us so that my guest and myself can make some haikus together. This week, every single one of you, bar a couple, said birds. I wonder why. I really wonder.
Boy,
but last week, for Jenny B, we had bees. So yeah, I'm noticing a theme. So, BirdKeeperToby, have you got 3 haikus for us?
I do. I'd like to stress that I've not written a haiku before, possibly once in school, you know?
Oh gosh, yeah, GCSEs kind of thing.
So, but I do have 3.
Okay, right. Well, if you're feeling confident, why don't you go with your first haiku do you think you are? Take it away.
Destruction reigns from above. Bring toilet paper, stupid. We will poo on you.
Oh, good. It's perfect. So this is basically like we're going for the perspective of birds or observations of birds, and obviously pooing was going to be one of them.
Of course. From above. That's just what they do.
So I'll go for my first haiku. Do we think we are on birds?
What have you got?
My car is covered in the shit of several birds. Spectacular aim. Have you ever seen those in a car park? There's just like out of 10 cars, there's one
it's always
been
yours.
aimed at and shelled by pigeons.
Yeah. It's always yours as well.
And it's always yours. Why is it always yours?
It's never Brad's. God, Brad, with your nice
Brad.
car.
I want you to get your car pooed on by the birds. Jeez.
But yeah, no, I hear you. Okay, I got it. Okay.
Okay, you take away with your second
slightly
haiku. Do you think you are?
Different twist on it.
Okay.
Fish fingers, peas, chips. It's a lie, Captain Birdseye. He doesn't sell birds.
Oh my god. Why can Captain Birdseye in? I like where this is going.
Oh dear, that's it. That's it. I'm so
That's it. Okay, mine's weirdly got lunch involved, so I guess we've gone for similar.
Okay.
Why can't I eat lunch without having a quick check that I won't die soon? This is something I've watched birds when I'm out and about, and they just can't relax, whether it's in a bird bath, whether it's eating, it's head down, look! Head down, look! Head down, look! It's like, come on, how on edge are you? How often do you get attacked by things? Relax a bit.
I wasn't sure where the haiku ended. And I was like, blimey, that's morbid. Is there a happy ending? No? Okay.
That's the problem, it's really bad. There's no happy ending to this. It's just, they're looking around. They're looking around trying to see what might get them. And actually, in fairness, where I live, there are a hell load of cats. So maybe in fairness, there's a reason why mine are all looking around. But BirdKeeperToby, do you have your third and final haiku?
I do.
Do you think you are?
I do. Okay. Budgeted evolution. Dinosaurs digivolve into stupid birds. What a downgrade. Sigh. I had an extra syllable. So
oh, that doesn't
sigh.
matter. That's fine. I love it. That was amazing.
Cool.
I think that one's got to win just because of the
I did a
Digimon.
haiku. I'm so proud. Go on, let's hear your third one.
Okay, my third and final haiku. Do you think you are about birds because it's BirdKeeperToby's week? When we all birds tweet. Let me try this again. I got that wrong. When we birds all tweet, you believe we're singing songs. We just shout swear words. I just love the idea of that. Every morning you wake up to... But I actually just like the idea that it's just... it's really like, East End Cockney birds going, you bug! And like just proper shouting.
You got like Snow White going on, and she's like, all the birds are like coming in the window. And
exactly.
Up
Actually, they're going, shut up!
Look at this lasso!
Keep it down, love! Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I'm imagining. And you know what? For the first time in advance, we've had one suggested to, well, not necessarily, but it was in the Discord suggested to me by Ted, who was at the MCM Comic-Con panel and gave a haiku during the Q&A. So Ted is already haiku MVP. So his one is, I am a seagull, fecal inconvenience all over your head. And it's amazing. Working the fecal inconvenience game hog meme into that. That truly is a haiku. Do you think you are?
Yeah, I'm pretty impressed by that. And I'm glad we were all on point with the bird poo.
Absolutely. We knew it was going to happen. It had to be mentioned. So guys, who do you think won haiku do you think you are this week? Like I said, if you guys are listening in audio form, whether it's on SoundCloud or your podcast app, make sure you head over to the old YouTubes or head to @GameHogGames and tweet me who you think has won this week's haiku do you think you are. So now let's move on without any hesitation, BirdKeeperToby, onto another feature, which this week... Well, it's not this week, it's every week, but it's Am I Normal? This is basically a little feature. I like to get into the heads of all the guests, Toby, as you well know. And one of the things I like to know is the little quirks that people have. Quirks that people have are very, very interesting. And the one that I always bring up is that in my youth, I used to basically think that there were sharks in the swimming pool.
Yeah.
And I still can't really do backstroke without feeling uneasy. So what about you? Do you have anything like that?
I've definitely had that. So I've known about this part since the first one of these I've listened to, so I've kind of had one for ages, and then I had one that came up today that I thought, oh, that's totally a thing. So the one that I've had for ages is evil monologuing.
Right.
In real life. So if I'm really annoyed at someone, or even if I'm not, even if I'm just feeling like, you know what, life's going really well right now, you know, much like in House of Cards, I'll just sort of turn to the camera that isn't there and just kind of have a little monologue briefly, not for long, not like a full-on, you know, but yeah,
Oh my god, you're like Liam. You and Liam are both like, you both talk to each other. That's great. All the PokeTubers talk to themselves.
You just talk to the kind of invisible camera and talk about how life is going really well. And maybe it's just because House of Cards is a very addictive kind of show. But there's something about that where it's the idea that all of my actions are secretly being watched, and now I'm just going to turn to the audience and talk about how everything is going to plan. My enemies are falling one by one.
Do you even like steeple your fingers as well, and kind of like,
yeah, excellent. And the other one, which is far more tame, which is, I don't believe that hula hoops are real crisps. They're not.
Wow,
they are not real crisps,
shout.
And I refuse to believe that they are. No matter what evidence is presented to me, I'm just not comfortable with it. Okay?
Wow. Cool. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the hula hoop.
Me neither. Why would I eat them? They're not crisps.
It's cool original Doritos or go away, as far as I'm concerned.
Decent.
What are your crisp of choice?
Ooh, I used to really like Monster Munch. Now I'm fancy now. I have Kettle Crisps.
Oh, you are fancy. I thought you were going to maybe go for like the kind of middle ground of sensations, but that is very posh.
I don't buy them. I just steal them off my mum and dad.
I see. I understand.
They buy them and I pretend I'm fancy. I don't know. Do you have any other of the, like, because I've heard the shark one week to week.
I'm a bit of a hypocrite with clicking bones.
Yeah.
So like I click my finger, like not in the, I can't do a lot of them, but I click my fingers from side to side because like my knuckles get a bit weird. But if I hear other people clicking their fingers or their neck or their wrists or whatever, I get really antsy about it. I'm like, stop it. I don't like it. And that's such a hypocritical thing of me. I don't know if anyone else is like that, but I guess it's like, it's not as bad when it's yours. I guess it's in the same way as if I accidentally piss on my leg, it's not as bad as if you accidentally piss on my leg. Do you know what I mean? Sorry, no, that was a really weird metaphor, but like...
I can't think that those are the same things. No, I don't think
maybe that's just me. Maybe we should move on.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's okay if you're in a pool. It's just going to annoy the shark, but
don't do that to me, Toby. Why would you do that? Oh, do you know what? Actually, talking about sharks, that has brought me on to the next feature, and there's kind of a reason it's brought me on to the next feature. The next one is super timey-wimey hoggy-boggy nonsense.
Okay.
The reason this exists, BirdKeeperToby, is this is a time travel segment. Somewhere in the past, or maybe the future, or maybe a couple of hours ago. Where would you travel and why? The reason I'm bringing this up is because this is something I feel you may be able to talk about with me here. Maybe it's not necessarily that I have to go back anymore, but I really want to go and try the Pokemon Gold demo.
Yeah. All right, that was leaked recently.
Because that is super exciting for me. That's leaked this week or in the last couple of weeks. Like, because Gold and Silver are my favorite Pokemon games. B, because the Game Boy Advance was the first console I owned, it was one of the first games I ever played. Mm-hmm. It was the first Pokemon game I ever played. And it was amazing. And it's so weird to think, because I have such an attachment to it. It's so interesting to see what it could have been. This whole different map that was bigger. These new Pokemon, they're like some that made the cutting floor, some that didn't. And it's really
It's amazing
cool
to see how many of them are designs of Pokemon that have come since, like even up to the latest generation.
Yeah, like the Farfetch'd evolution looks like Swanna.
And it really gives me... Oh, I hadn't even thought of that. It gives me so much hope for, that we'll see these designs, some of them reused. I would be a big fan of
because the Mime Junior was a thing. They actually brought the Mime Junior in.
Yeah. Tangrowth was kind of a thing as well.
Yeah.
The
baby form of Doduo was so cute.
Yeah, but had 3 heads, which was kind of weird.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So that was a...
Should have just gone for the one. But yeah, I guess you can't really do that.
That makes for something really morbid, that if the baby Doduo had 3 heads, what happened to the 3rd head in the middle stage?
I hate to make it crude, but it becomes an anus for the duration of the Doduo's life.
Oh no! So it just tucks away and
it kind of gets one of them. It's like a process of random nature, and one of them goes straight back in, and then that's it until it evolves.
And that's why Dodrio's so angry, is because one of the heads...
Yeah, he was like, dude, I was an anus for 23 levels.
Yeah, exactly.
Quite right. Do you have any time in your life that you would go back to, or a time in the past or the present or the future? Or would you go back and try the Gold and Silver demos?
So I feel like whenever it comes to the time travel thing, people either want to travel like really far in the future to have all the cool future technologies, or people want to travel really far in the past to like live like a god. But the thing is like, if you travel too far into the future, you're going to be an idiot. All right, you're going to be surrounded by people who are far more intelligent and far more attractive than you, because I'm pretty sure that's a thing that happens with time travel. I'm probably far more hygienic than you. But if you travel back in time, sure, you're going to be like the most incredible human for a brief period of time.
But you'll also be burnt alive as a witch.
Absolutely. And, so you only actually have a really reasonable kind of small window to work with. So I think back in time, because you can always do the money-making schemes, and if I'm going back in time, it's got to be to around about my childhood era, essentially on a super exotic shopping trip where I can buy early copies of Sealed Gold and Silver and Pokemon cards purely for nostalgic enjoyment. And obviously also make a ton of money, putting my stocks in Apple and Google and whatever else.
The obvious answers, the financial ones, benefits,
But I genuinely think that's unless you're using it to play games. Like I know you mentioned that you had Chris Bingham on here earlier, and I know he's done a really cool video about time travel. And I don't know what his answer was, whether he was saying the thing about the cabbage.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, he's done a video about messing with people's heads with cabbages. Anyway, that I just remember seeing before. Unless you're using time travel to like play games with mess with people, I think the only place you reasonably can go is back sort of within your own lifespan, get the nostalgia factor, get the money factor, and also know everything that's going to happen for a brief period.
But would you want to observe that moment like a camera watching it, or would you want to re-experience it first-person style?
Ooh, first-person re-experience. Oh, in that case, I'd just love to replay college. All of my college days. Not because anything particularly special happened in them, just they were super fun.
Sure.
And I'd totally love to replay. I'd love to do that again.
See, I've got one that's slightly more base than the nice ones that we've picked, which is just, I had a really, really funny experience on PUBG once where I think we 4 of us went to a crate, and it was with Liam and Yoan, I think, and then a Jeep saw us doing it, it drove into us, it exploded in the air, flipping 1,000 times. All of this was happening whilst one of them was balancing the loot crate on his head. And I think I burst something inside me from laughing so hard. And it was Ted who gave us the haiku. He reminded me of it today, and I just want to go back and experience that. Those moments where you belly laugh beyond control. Yeah, I love those, and I want to experience more of them.
Oh yeah, oh no, that's so nice though. Yeah, I would love to do that. Just go back to some of the best sleepovers with friends. And,
absolutely, yeah, the ones where you just giggled and giggled. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Just up all night, playing Halo, eating unhealthy food, and just laughing about nothing. It's the
bang on.
Best.
And there we go. That brings super timey-wimey honky-bonky nonsense to a kind of interesting closure, and brings us neatly on to our penultimate feature, as it were, because obviously the final questionnaire is still to come, and by the way, it's a Pokemon belter. So let's go into the last of the features before the quiz. Let's play God! And Toby, you get an opportunity to shout the title of this, so go ahead.
Let's play God! I want you to do it different.
Oh no, that was great. I like it. Someone did a bit of variation on it. Perfect. This is wonderful. So, basically the point of Let's Play God, Let's Play God is that we have to basically take on the point of view of a deity. We're going to change something about society, or maybe humanity. They're the same thing. I kind of mean humans in general, like maybe their biology or anything, and we'll discuss the effects that might have. So, BirdKeeperToby, do you have anything that you as a deity would maybe change?
I don't know. I kind of have like a general idea, but I don't know how practically this would work.
Go on.
But the idea that it's always bugged me, like, we got a planet and it's like covered in lots of different bits of rubbish, and there's all these half-empty buildings and everything's kind of broken, and like you've got everything's being built on top of itself. So we don't have like all the latest technologies everywhere, because it means digging out the old stuff and putting in the new stuff. Like I saw, did you ever see the Kickstarter for solar roadways?
Yes, I did.
It was so cool. And like, if we had solar paneled roadways, they would constantly have energy and they provide provide energy for the rest of the planet, and you could have like LED road signs, and it could self-heat and get rid of snow, and like if there's an accident coming up or something on the road ahead, it could warn you with LEDs. It was a nuts idea, but it'll never happen because it would mean getting rid of every other roadway and putting it in, and then by the time it's in, all the technology would be redundant. So I'd really love to use just some powerful mega deity, powered wave of whatever to just go over the planet and enhance everything up to the current version, reset, like the Earth is brand new, but in terms of latest technologies.
Windows wants to install all updates to the Earth.
Exactly. But like, you know how like you go to like, in the NHS they're using like Windows XP or whatever because it would be I think about how horrific that would be to spend a day like updating every computer, how many patient files would mess up, like
it's just not worth it. Yeah.
The world cannot stop for a day to update everything because people would literally die.
So you as a deity are going to do that in a click.
I would like to install Windows 10. I would like to, or better yet, give them a Mac. Anyway, hey, haha, that's just my opinion. I'm the deity. So
I think that's a really, really strong answer because it's a very apt one that I never thought about before. And that's what this podcast is about, BirdKeeperToby. It's making people think. Now, mine is more the idea of immortality a la elves from Lord of the Rings. Like, remove dying of illness or age.
So just via bodily harm, I guess.
Yeah, you can kill yourself or you can be killed.
I'm cool with this.
Because I don't want to die of old age. I mean, admittedly, it's about resources, and then this is the whole Thanos thing from Infinity War coming back. Yeah. But, like, I don't want to die. But the thing is, if you got a wish, let's say, from a god or a genie, I guess they're the same, and you said, make me immortal, or make me, like this kind of immortal, so I can't die of illness or age, but I can be killed. Would you also stipulate, and also my closest friends or people who are close to me as well? Because then because otherwise everyone you know and love will die around you forever. But
I think you've got to do it. You've got to kind of make everyone that way because the moment you make a limited number of my friends and family, okay, but then what happens when you become close to someone else? Do they gain that immortality?
Well, that's the thing. Is do I make it general and vague so the wish is perpetual? This is all about wishes now, isn't it?
Do you just Do you know
what? This might be something I'll explore in season 2 of the HogCast. Is if I gave you 3 wishes, what would you wish for? I think that's a very good topic of conversation.
I really like Captain Jack Harkness from Doctor Who because he's got an immortality where supposedly in the lore he does die eventually, like
millions of
thousands of years, millions of years in the future as a giant mutated face.
The face of Bo.
The face of Bo, right? Sorry, I don't know how familiar.
I'm very, very familiar.
Awesome. So he dies, but like until that point, like he's just assumes that okay, I'm just here forever now. I kind of like that idea, but yeah, I mean. With that, you've got to then navigate, obviously, all the friendships, relationships.
It's the Aragorn-Arwen paradox all over again.
And also, how do you... what happens when there's no more Earth to travel, What happened, are you going to hopefully live to a point to see other planets and, what's out there that isn't already here? Honestly, probably I don't want to die. I would love to live, maybe a couple thousand years.
That'd be great.
But, the finite of it allness is probably the only thing, stopping it from being really boring.
Sure. Yeah, I get you.
Because why would you... If you were immortal... It sounds really weird, but if you're immortal, you're probably less likely to get, a 9-to-5 job or something. Because you go... Oh, well, what's the point of it?
Well, it's a sneeze of time for you, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, why would I get a job? It doesn't matter. What they're going to do, throw me in prison?
I don't respect this guy. He's 38. I've been alive for 4,000 years.
Exactly. You're just not going to do it. But weirdly, the finiteness of it all is, and being bogged down in the itty-gritty, that's life, right? That's where all that stuff happens in the now, in the present, in the zoomed in.
And another question is how do you fit in or stop people asking questions? Like, let's say you finally get the job you want and you work in it forever. After 40 years of you not aging, they're like, your picture's still on the wall. You haven't aged a day. Yep.
Yeah. Well, I think you have to become a superhero. If you're going to live forever, like, that's the only profession you can reasonably do, is become some kind of superhero, so that, you know, people will talk about you and go, he's been seen throughout time, you know, he was there, you know, and you would become the Doctor, essentially.
Sick.
You know,
okay, you've sold me on this idea, yeah.
I'm cool with that.
Immortality. With great immortality comes becoming a badass superhero.
It's TARDIS!
And that is a great way of ending Let's Play God. Oh, sorry. Let's Play God! Do you want to give it one more shout?
Let's Play God! I really tried too hard there. I'm so sorry.
Perfect. I love them. So, BirdKeeperToby, that has brought us to the end of the features of the Game Hog HogCast, and this has been magnificent. I think you've actually given us some wonderful answers to a lot of things. However, there are some more answers for you to give, BirdKeeperToby, because as you know, we top and tail each podcast, each HogCast, with a questionnaire. You started with the Pivot questionnaire, one I didn't invent, but one that's very insightful. We now go on to a custom Game Hog quickfire questionnaire exclusively for you. Some of these questions may be a bit boring, some of them may be a bit derivative, but the thing is, it's about how quickly you can answer them and thinking on your feet.
Okay.
BirdKeeperToby, are you ready to face the Game Hog quickfire questionnaire?
I'm ready. I'm ready. I can do this. Let's do this.
Your time starts now. Charmander or Squirtle?
Charmander.
Incorrect. Squirtle or Bulbasaur?
Bulbasaur.
Incorrect. Bulbasaur or Charmander?
Bulbasaur.
Incorrect. Mark or Trubbish?
Trubbish.
Correct. Luke or James?
Luke?
No, you actually answered it! Oh god, you're not meant to answer it!
What? I don't know these people!
Most people boycott it!
Was I correct though?
I'm afraid that was incorrect because you actually answered it, I'm sorry. If you could be a black belt knob or a hiker knob, which one would you be and why? Get it? I'm working in Pokemon jokes.
Black belt. Black belt. Because at least you're good at what you do.
Well, there we go. That's a good answer. I'll give you correct there. What armored Pokemon would you ride into battle?
Steelix.
That's a great answer. Correct. If you couldn't be a keeper of birds called Toby, would you rather be A, fire dancer Gerald, B, triathlon Derek, or C, ace trainer Liam?
Definitely not ace trainer Liam. Fire dancer Gerald!
Oh, I was going to go for... unfortunately, the answer was ace trainer Liam.
What?
Name a Pokemon that looks most like a butt plug.
A Geodude? Oh, no.
That's... Oh, God. I'm afraid the answer was Wobbuffet.
No.
Where can you buy toys for Dragon-type Pokemon?
Toys R Us?
Very close! It's Haxorus!
Nice.
Okay, right. That's bringing us to the very final question. Are you ready for the final question?
Okay, yeah.
Gen 2 is the best Pokemon generation. Discuss.
Yes. Correct. Yes.
Correct! That is
awesome!
it!
I got one!
BirdKeeperToby, you have finished the Game Hog Quickfire Questionnaire with 6 out of 11 correct. That's not a bad score. You aren't currently winning at the moment. Chris Bingham and Jenny B have done very, very well. But I'm afraid you only got 6. But you did come up with some cracking answers there. But you did also answer the one about Luke or James, which has never been answered before.
I don't know these guys that well.
I know, and that's fair. But there we go. I throw that to everyone.
And or James.
There we go, guys. It's nothing personal. He panicked on the spot. So, BirdKeeperToby, thank you so much for joining me on the HogCast. This has been a fantastic insight.
Thank you for having me. I've been wanting to be on one of these since I heard the one that you did with Liam, which was like the first or second one.
It was the very first one, and it was great fun. And like I said, all of these have been very, very different. They've all had a different vibe. Liam's was very laddie. Spamwall's was very relaxed. Luke and James very easy and conversational. Isla's was very passion-filled and kind of, you know, indulging our nerd side. Jenny B was very, very pleasant and smiley. Chris Bingham's was very deep and slightly emotional in some ways. And ours, we've plunged some human depths. We've had some laughs, and we've talked about Pokemon. I think that's been...
I tell you what, you're going to hate me. I got 2 things to pick up on Isla's one quickly before we end this.
Go on.
Which is first of all, I'm the guy in the cinema who crunches food.
Oh, you bastard.
Even in the quiet place, the person that I went to see it with, I'm there with my bag of crisps.
Oh, Toby, why?
I'm sorry. Because I want to enjoy myself and screw everyone else, apparently. I will be more appreciative in the future of other humans in the... I only take my feast when I'm, like, pretty sure that no one else is going to be in there.
Well, that's fair enough.
Like,
At least you're considerate.
And the other
swine.
one is I started watching the anime that you suggested about the guy who goes back in time.
Oh, Erased.
Erased. But don't be too proud, because I got about 2 seconds in and went, reading. And then... and I maybe if I... get back to that one day.
Oh, mate, well, that's fair enough. I understand that, and it's a barrier for some people, and that's fine, but at least you tried, and I respect you for that. Birdkeeper Toby, thank you again for coming. This has been great fun. I hope you'll come back for season 2 for another appearance.
I'd love to. Thank you.
And look forward to seeing Birdkeeper Toby in an upcoming Game Hog sketch sometime this year, I imagine. But, Birdkeeper Toby, where can people find you one more time on all of your socials and various things?
Find me on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, all of those things. Facebook, YouTube and Twitter are the main ones, and it's just Birdkeeper Toby everywhere. There are some slight variations with Instagram, but it's all linked on my YouTube. It's super easy to find. Just Birdkeeper Toby. Look me up on the things. You'll likely find me.
Perfect. And there we go. Guys, if you have been watching on YouTube, be sure to leave us a comment. Who won Haiku do you think you are? Give us some of your Am I Normals. I'd love to read out some of your suggestions of quirks that you guys all have. Make sure that if you guys are watching on iTunes, or listening on iTunes rather, because this is in your ear holes, that you guys leave us a lovely 5-star review and tell us your favourite bit of the podcast. This has been great fun. Thank you again, Toby. Thank you to you guys for listening, and we will see you guys in the next HogCast. Take care, everybody. Bye-sies. Bye. Bye.